Are the Yankees feeling the pressure going into this weekend Subway Series? They desperately need a win tonight to wrap up their series against the Blue Jays before heading to Queens. So, Greg Joyce is on to talk Yankees baseball. Greg, thanks for hopping on. Greg's at the stadium right now, live from Toronto. But before we get into the nitty gritty about the Subway Series, how big is tonight's game against the Blue Jays to gain some sort of momentum going into the Subway Series this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's important just to get out of here with one win at least. You want to avoid a four-game sweep, which is always a rough one. Obviously, they haven't been playing their best baseball of late. They go down 8-0 last night and make a wild comeback just to tie the game in the top of the eighth and then lose anyway. So that's a little bit of a punch to the gut there. But it seems like any time over the last few weeks where they've seemed to get a little bit of momentum. They've taken a few steps back. Obviously, they won 2 or 3 against the Athletics over the weekend. The weekend before that, they won 2 or 3 against the Orioles. But in between, they keep on kind of shooting themselves in the foot a little bit. So obviously, it'd be good to get out of here with salvaging one win and try to take that momentum into the weekend because it's gone on almost 3 weeks now, 6-13 over their last 19 games. So they're open to use something as a springboard just to kind of get them going and get them snapped out of the stretch.
All right, now let's get into the nitty gritty for this weekend. We got Marcus Stroman returning to Citi Field on Friday. He's going to open up the series against the Mets. Where's this guy's confidence level at after a good outing in his first game back this season? Does he got his juice back?
Yeah, I think I think he's one of those guys you never have to worry about his confidence. I think whether he's going good or going bad, his confidence is always there. But I think, what he gave them in his first start back against the Athletics, 5 innings of 1-run ball was about as good as they could have hoped for a guy that hadn't pitched in the big leagues in a while. So we'll see what he has, for an encore here. This is his first time pitching at Citi Field since he was a member of the Mets back in 2021. So that'll be an interesting reception there, I'm sure. A big series, that's a guy that ever since he signed here last year, he's talked about wanting to pitch in the under the brightest lights with all the pressure on him. So he's the guy that thinks he thrives on that. So obviously it'll be a good test for him, to see if he can kind of keep up what he did in his first start back.
When you kind of sit back and look at this series and you break down the matchup as a whole, the Yankees have a huge advantage pitching wise for games 2 and 3 as well, with Carlos Rodon and Max Fried taking the hill. So would you say that it would be disappointing for the Yankees to not take this series against a banged up pitching staff for the Mets?
Yeah, it obviously lines up well for them. I think when they met in May, the Yankees rearranged their schedule a little bit just to skip I think it was Ryan Yarbrough to be able to get their best pitchers in that series. This time it just kind of lined up well, but I think anytime you get your best 2 pitchers, Carlos Rodon and Max Fried, in a series, you got to hope to win the 2 of those games at least with those guys on the mound. Obviously, they've been pretty good almost every time that Fried's been on the mound, although his last start against the Blue Jays here lost that one. I think it was only the second time they've lost to Max Fried's start when they're coming off a loss. Usually he's been a pretty good stopper. But yeah, with those 2 guys on the mound, especially like you said, the Mets pitching staff beat up a little bit. That's those are the kind of the matchups that you got to take advantage of. But obviously, over the stretch, it's been sometimes even if the starting pitching has been good, the offense hasn't been good or the fielding hasn't been good. So it kind of takes all those groups working together because it doesn't matter if Rodon or Fried throws 6 innings of 1-run ball but if they don't get any support, from the bats or behind them, it doesn't matter all that much. But certainly on paper, they should have the advantage going in.
You've been covering this team all throughout the season. You've been there for all the ups and downs. What are some things that you're looking out for this weekend? Like, what should we be paying attention to in this Subway Series?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, how the Yankees pitchers, deal with Juan Soto. When they met 2 months ago, I think they held him to 1-10, 1 for 10, with 4 walks and 3 strikeouts, and obviously Soto wasn't as hot as he is now. Obviously, he's coming off winning, the NL Player of the Month. So it'd be a good test for them to try to hold him down again as well as they did back in May. So that'll be a challenge. And then just seeing, how they kind of respond, hitting with runners in scoring position. Obviously, that's been a struggle here the last, couple of weeks during this stretch. They did it better last night. to be able to dig themselves out of that 8-0 hole. But they're trying to kind of get more consistent in that area. And then the last thing would just be kind of playing good fundamental baseball, which they've gotten away from a little bit during this stretch as well. So whether that's the defense or better base running, both areas have been kind of lacking of late. So they just need to play some crisper baseball, get back to the kind of branded baseball they were playing early on this season. Because obviously the last couple of weeks have been a little bit too reminiscent of the struggle, issues that kind of played them at times last year. It was ultimately their downfall in October. So, it'd be a good opportunity for them to get back on track.
All right, Greg Joyce, thanks for hopping on with us, man, and safe travels back to New York.
You got it. Thanks, Brandon.